Okay, hi everyone. I am so sorry for being a few minutes late. I was trying to connect my OBS to YouTube Live and for some reason it wasn't working. So I am so sorry about that. Hopefully I can go ahead and get that figured out for next time because I wanted to have like the starting student screen on and it just was not connecting. But thank you everyone for coming out to tonight's stream. So I thought this would be a fun video to talk about how I am going to meet people organically, including men, in Portland. And this would involve not using a dating app or using the internet to find people and meet people. So that is what I want to talk about in this video. So if you are maybe interested in hearing a little bit more about what my plans are, get excited because we'll talk about it. And I'm curious to know a little bit more about how maybe you have been trying to push yourself to meet people this summer or any other season, really. So, yeah, anyway, I will start off with the first thing in just a second. I'm just waiting for like a little bit more people to trickle in. I know I had a bit of a late start, so yeah, it looks like there's some more people that are coming in. Everyone, I'm so sorry that I started this stream late. I apologize. Just the OBS stream was just not working. I'm still like very new to it because I've been using it on Amazon Live and it connects just fine. So I'm not sure why it's not connecting to YouTube when I'm using like a different stream key. Anyway, so I have a few things of what I am going to talk about in terms of meeting people organically. So, one of the first things that I wanted to go over that I'm going to challenge myself to meet more people in Portland. And this could also be a way for you guys to meet people organically, whether you're in Portland or any other city, really. If you're in a major city, this could be an option. So, when I was in San Francisco, one thing I did that helped me make some friends is I attended events through Moisha House. So, Moisha House is basically a Jewish social organization for ages, let's say 20 through your mid 40s, right? And it's pretty much geared towards like Gen Z, millennials, and I would say the younger Gen Xers. And there are many locations all over the country. San Francisco had about 4 locations, and there is one location here in Portland. So, as you may know, or maybe you don't know, I am Jewish. And so it is important for me to have more Jewish friends in my life. So I only have one Jewish friend here in Portland. That's my friend Hannah. And I want more Jewish friends. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So that is one thing that I'm going to be doing for myself. I fully believe in like having community and being able to have a support system, especially when your religion is very small in this world. And I really liked these. So one thing that's really cool about Moisha House events is that most of them are not actually done on weekends. They're done usually like Thursdays or Wednesdays. Those were pretty much the days that I would go when I would attend events in San Francisco. So I like that about Moisha House because it pushes me to get out of my house when I have a work day. And that way I don't just have to like just be still stuck in my apartment. I mean, of course, I always have the option to leave my apartment, but I am totally fine going out on a school night, right? So, being out and about and making more friends after work. And that is something that I want to do. I know like the July and August calendars are not up yet. And I feel like a lot of the events from this month, since we only have 5 days left of this month, have already passed. So I am curious to see how they're going to release their July calendar once that's out. And then I will look at events that are going to be more appealing to me. And yeah, so that is something that I plan on doing. I will say, like, meeting a Jewish guy is not very important to me. I don't know if I've said this on my channel before, but I am dating, or no, I'm not dating. I am open to dating people from all religions. Like, I don't care if my partner is Jewish. It's not that important to me. I would preferably would want my kids to be Jewish, but again, I also believe in not forcing your kids to be a religion. Let them choose what they want. So that's going to really depend. I mean, if I do marry Jewish, then well, my kids are just they're stuck being Jewish. But if I was in an interfaith relationship, I want to give them the option to choose what religion they would want just because that's their life, it's their identity, and that's something that I want to respect. Of course, like if I have a kid and I do have a Jewish partner, I do marry someone Jewish, of course they always have the choice to convert to another religion, but ethnically they're still going to be Jewish. So yeah, that's like my little spiel on that. So I'm not potentially like going to Moisha House events to seek out a Jewish man. That's not a priority for me. I haven't really had a lot of chemistry with a lot of the Jewish guys that I've met. So, not saying that it's not possible, but the Catholic guys tend to just really like me more. I don't know what it is about the Catholic men, but the Catholic men love me. So, yeah, that is basically one of the first things that I'm going to be doing to meet more people is going to Moish House events since I haven't gone around to doing that since last year. A lot of those events were canceled or they were virtual, and now everything's picking back up again. We're getting back to normalcy, which is really nice. And that is something that I look forward to. So, the next thing that I want to do, probably starting in the fall and not in the summer, is going to UK Alumni Association events. So, here's another fun thing. If you went to a big university or a medium sized university that has a pretty big alumni network, and if you live in more of like a major city, I would really look into going to watch parties where your alma mater is located. Like there's always alma mater groups or like alumni association groups all throughout the country. Like when I was in San Francisco, I would go to Local Tap, which is this bar in Soma, to go to viewing watch parties for football and basketball games since I went to an SEC school for my master's degree. And then when it came to ODU, which was my undergrad, now they do have a football program. It is D1, but it's a very young football program. And most of their fan base still kind of stays in Virginia or on the East Coast in general. Not a lot of people move out west. So that was a little lonely for me when I was living in San Francisco. It's like there really wasn't many ODU people there, except for my friend Amy, who I discovered later on that she was out there. And so that was a great surprise. But in terms of the University of Kentucky, oh my God, like a huge network of people, big fan base, also a bigger school. It's because it's like a flagship university. And San Francisco had so many college themed bars for watch parties, or like fan base bars is another thing to call it. And that was so cool about San Francisco that they had all of these options. And Portland has a decent amount of people in terms of like networks from other schools. I mean, especially of University of Oregon and Oregon State. Clearly, like those are going to dominate the watch parties and sports bars, but there is a University of Kentucky chapter in the Pacific Northwest. Well, there's two. There's one in Seattle and there's one in Portland. And so I actually joined a Facebook group this morning and I got accepted right in. And so I found out all the details that I'll need to know about watch parties. So that will probably happen in the fall. And I'm looking forward to that because going to watch parties and meeting other people who went to the same school as you is a great thing. Like you already have something in common. There's so many things you can talk about. You can talk about your memories there, what you studied, talking about some of your favorite things that you did in that city that the school was in. I mean, I don't have anything positive to say about Lexington, Kentucky, but I will say I did like the school. And that was something that I really enjoyed, especially those basketball games. I mean, basketball games were always a good time. So I highly recommend that you look it up in your city. and see if your college has an alumni chapter, especially if sports is a big thing. Even if you don't like sports, just go for the social environment, go for the drinks, go for the food, go ahead and meet people. When I was in San Francisco, I met a good handful of people. So I was basically meeting people on Saturdays. I would go for watch parties, right? And a lot of the people were a little bit older than me, probably more in their 40s and up, but it didn't matter because I was getting out there. I was meeting people. I kept those connections. I got some numbers. We stayed in touch on Facebook. I even hung out with one of the guys that I met for dinner, and like it wasn't a date. He was actually quite a bit older than me. I think he was like, I want to say maybe 9 or 10 years older than me. And he just genuinely wanted to hang out with me. Like he had no romantic interest in me. And he's a great person overall. And it's really cool that that little community would bring people together, and it's a great way to make friends. And so I still sometimes keep in touch with them on social media, and I'm glad that I got to meet those people. So that is something that I will plan on doing probably in the fall, not this summer, but that could also be a potentially good way to also meet a guy. I mean, men stereotypically love sports. I love sports. Like, I don't know about you, but I love sports. I love football. I love basketball. I will say I'm definitely more into college sports than I am into professional sports, but it's my preference. So that is something that I will be doing. So again, don't sleep on college watch parties because it's a great way to meet people and potentially a romantic partner. Alrighty, what do we have next? Oh, yeah. Okay. So last week I started my new job and I'm in a big tech company. So yay for that. And what I really am excited about is that there are a decent amount of people in my company that live in Portland. And what I'm looking forward to are going to happy hours with these people. Meeting new people in person is my specialty. Okay, well, you're going to have to share some tips in the chat. Don't be shy because I would absolutely love to hear how you meet new people. Like, that's like what I want. Like, I want discussion. I would love to hear some of y'all's thoughts and opinions on how you've met people recently off a dating app or not relying on meetup.com. Please, like, let me know in the chat. I would love to talk about it or hear what ideas you have because I'm all about that. So, as I was saying, there are a lot of people in Portland. And so there's a Slack channel called Portland Happy Hour. And it looks like they meet on Thursdays. So that's just another way to challenge myself and meet more people within my company because I work remotely still. And there is an office in I don't wanna give it away because I don't wanna, like, give away what company I work at just because I gotta be careful on social media when it comes to stuff like that, but, basically, like, there are plenty of offices in the country, but not one in Portland, so that's way for me to meet other people in my area who work at my company because I don't know if my company does offsite retreats or not, like, I have no idea, so I'm really excited about that and grabbing drinks with people, talking more about like why we work at this company, what brought us there, what brought us to Portland. And the thing with work and dating, I'm going to say something really quick and then I'll go back to the chat really quick. I do think work can be a great way to meet a partner, but you have to be careful, right? You definitely don't want to be accused of like sexually harassing someone or making someone uncomfortable. You also have to be mindful of keeping those interactions professional and not showing PDA in the office. I think it is possible, especially like if you do work at a big company and the person works in an entirely different department than you where you're not going to have a lot of interaction with them. I don't really see anything wrong with that because if you were to break up, at least you wouldn't be crossing paths with one another, right? So, or at least maybe not all the time. So, I say, do it at your own risk. I'm still very much open to meeting someone at work. Of course, like, everyone has their preferences, everyone's very cautious. I'd love to know if you've ever dated somebody you've met at work. I'd love to hear how that went because I'm curious to know. I can't say that I've met anybody at work. I mean, my first job was very female dominated, and then my second job, there were a lot more men that I worked with, but they were a lot younger than me, and they were also partnered up. So that didn't really work for me. Okay, let me go to the chat really quick. So Ripped Up says, eye contact, smile, and good body language before you even open your mouth. I mean, yeah, those are all really important things when you're talking or or non-verbally interacting with someone. I strongly believe in eye contact. That saying, I do have ADHD, so sometimes my eye contact can suck, but I do tend to be aware of when I am not making eye contact, and I that is something that I'm always trying to work on, right? But I do believe, like, making yourself approachable is a great way to meet people 100%, and having positive body language and not making yourself standoffish. I definitely agree. Body language matters so much. Angela says, met lots of other women on Bumble BFF. Okay, it's really funny you mentioned that. So, when I talked about my friend Amy, so Amy was someone that I went to college with, and I met her in my freshman year, and she gave me a ride to Virginia Tech once, which is where my ex went. And so, her and I kind of lost that of touch, but we were friends all throughout my freshman year. And so, there actually was one point when I did have Bumble in San Francisco. And even though I had a solid group of friends in San Francisco, I had this weird rush of, like, loneliness at a sudden like, all of a sudden, and I was thinking, "You know what? I want more girlfriends here in the city." So what did I do? I opened up Bumble, and I went through Bumble BFF, and I had never used it before, and I started swiping on girls, and then I came across Amy, and I was like, "Oh my god, I know this girl." And so I matched with her, and she matched with me back saying, "Oh to you," and I don't think she had remembered me or recognized me. And I was like, "Girl, do you remember me? Like, you drove me to Virginia Tech once." And she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't even recognize you. Like, you look so different." So it was just so funny how that happened. And so her and I have kept in touch. And so she actually visited me back last May in Portland. And you've probably seen her in some of my videos. And I love her. Amy's so fun. So Bumble BFF is definitely a great way to make friends. And I'm glad that has worked for you, Angela. I mean, it worked for me. So if it can work for me and Angela, then it can probably work for you too. So that is a great suggestion. All right, what's next? Okay, so here's the thing. I was really annoyed that I couldn't get OBS to connect because I really wanted to share my screen. So this is what I'm going to do instead. I have this article and I'm going to post it in the chat and it's also in the description of this video. So the article is titled, just hear me out, okay, before I lose you. It's called Best Places to Meet Girls in Portland and Dating Guide. However, I was looking through this article and I realized, okay, this can apply to any gender. This doesn't need to apply to just women. So let me put in the chat really quick. All right. So if you want to open it up, I wanted to kind of go over this really quick because I found some like interesting things in here. So as I was scrolling down, one of the first things it talks about are nightclubs and pickup bars. And it says, why don't we start off with a list of best single bars and nightclubs to pick up Portland women, even though any gender can still apply to this. And so I was looking at some of these suggestions. I found it to be really interesting and kind of odd that Departure was on here because Departure, I don't know if you've ever been to it, but it's a rooftop lounge in the proper hotel. Or no, it's what is it? Hotel. No. Proper hotel is Export Lounge, which is where I'm going to after this stream, by the way, because I am going out with friends. Oh gosh, what is the name of the hotel that Departure is in? Oh my god, I'm blanking out. Well, anyway, so Departure is a rooftop lounge and it is beautiful and it's an Asian fusion restaurant and they have a patio. So I'm wondering if the patio part is why they suggested this because people can freely walk around it even though there's a lot of tables and chairs. So I did find it interesting just because, like, when I went to Departure with my friend, I didn't get that feel or that vibe that Departure would be like a place to pick up women, especially. But, hey, to each their own. I do wish this article had specified why each of these locations were really great for meeting people. But what I do like about this list is that now it gives me more suggestions to check out. Multnomah Whiskey Library has always been on my list, and I don't live horribly far from that. So that is definitely something that I really do want to check out. I really like whiskey and bourbon. I mean, I lived in Kentucky for 2 years, so whiskey was something that I got pretty used to, right? So I definitely want to check that out. Some of these I haven't heard of, like Yamhill Pub or Mingle Lounge or Dig a Pony. It's a very interesting name. Space Room Lounge and Genie's Top. But I mean, like, I'm open to trying these bars out. So, yeah, I mean, going out to bars is still one of the best traditional ways to go out and meet people, right? So I have no problem going out to bars. Now, the thing with me is that I'm such a grandma. So I can probably only make it up until like 11 and then I get very sleepy, especially when I'm drinking alcohol. It just puts me to bed. Like, I think once I started hitting 25, I just started slowly becoming a grandma, and now I'm 30. And it just makes it a lot harder for me to stay awake when I go out at night, and that's a challenge. And drinking coffee before going out has not helped me. And I also don't want it to keep me from going to bed because I value my sleep so much. But bars are still a great traditional way to go out and meet people. I definitely think, you got to find a bar that fits your aesthetic and your theme. Like, I saw that there was this one bar in Portland. I can't remember the off the top of my head, but it had like a horror theme to it. So if you're into like horror stuff, that could be like a great way to meet people because you already have a similar interest. So that's something that's really cool. And so let's go down a little bit. So, yeah, it talks about the Pearl District. I agree. I think the Pearl District is a very good neighborhood to meet people. It definitely attracts the crowd of like Gen Z, millennials, and probably younger Gen Xers. I mean, and the reason I'm listing those generations is that's because that's pretty much my target audience. I don't have too many Gen Zers in my target audience. I'd say most of my viewers are millennials and older, or not older, younger Gen Xers. But the Pearl's fun. I mean, there's a lot of clubs there. There's a lot of breweries there, lots of great restaurants. You have Powell's Books, which is there. And I know Powell's recently opened up a cafe back in November. And that's been a really great way to meet people. Portland has a lot of music festivals. I think festivals back in San Francisco is a great place to meet people. Well, you know what? It's really funny you mentioned that because I'm going to get into that. So just hang on because that is on my list. So I'm glad you brought that up because I agree. Music festivals are awesome. All right. I'm trying to remember what else was on this list. So meeting people during the day. Yeah, and see, he even mentions Powell's Books having that cafe. Because Powell's, if you don't know what Powell's Books is, it's like one of the largest bookstores in the country, and it gets very crowded. It's sort of like a tourist trap in a way, but I mean, no, Powell's is still really dope. They have another smaller location in Hawthorne that doesn't get as crowded, but yeah, they recently opened up this cafe, and so this could be a really great spot to meet people potentially, and you can talk about different book genres that you like. And so I found this to be funny that you can always meet people at malls and shopping districts, especially women, but I would not meet somebody at the Lloyd Center. It has the Lloyd Center there. The Lloyd Center, y'all, is a dying ass mall. Now, the Lloyd Center has amazing natural light, but it is so dated. So many stores have closed, and it's a joke of a mall. I think once upon a time, I bet that mall was absolutely popping, but that is not the place that I would go to meet women. I think if you really wanted to meet someone at a mall, especially a woman, I would probably do Pioneer Place or Washington Square because those are going to have a lot of stores that appeal to the female gaze. So that is an option. I've never been to Eastport Plaza before, and Cascade Station is a shopping center. That's not going to be a place to meet people unless if you meet someone in a Target. I mean, who knows? Has anyone ever met anyone that's met their significant other in a Target? I'd love to know that story because that would be kind of dope, actually. But I mean, I don't know, like shopping malls. I mean, yeah, I guess you could meet people there because people like to go to malls in crowds, but that's not my first preference of meeting someone, and I don't think that should be your first preference of meeting somebody. But I mean, hey, teach their own. That's just my opinion. We are going to skip over the people chatting online. Don't care about that. So here's one that says Portland Dating Guide. So they have a couple of other like places. So here are some romantic restaurants or cocktail bars. So now we're kind of getting more into like some good date spots in Portland. I saw that Teardrop Lounge was on there. That was a place I was gonna initially go with my friend Juan, but we ended up going to Fireside instead. So y'all gotta check out Teardrop Lounge. I heard it's really cool, and I plan on going back. So just looking at this list, I still wonder if these places could be possible to meet other people, but I'm always down for a good date spot suggestion. So I will definitely have to check some of these places out, whether I want to meet people or not, or if I have a new date spot that I want to go to, or have a friend date spot as well. And then it mentions comedy clubs. I mean, comedy clubs are great date places. So I'm totally down with that. And then it talks about some other date ideas like going to a couple of parks. I have definitely done the Laurelhurst Park before, or the Laurelhurst Park date before. I did that with a guy last summer, and then I didn't talk to him ever again. I actually ended that on my end just because I could tell that he was not over his ex, even though he had been out of that relationship for like a year and a half. And I just didn't have time for that. It's like, it's so obvious you're emotionally unavailable, and I'm not about it. But Laurelhurst Park is very beautiful. Washington Square Park is gorgeous. I like to say that not Washington Square Park, that's San Francisco. Calm down, Ilana. Washington Park is basically like Portland's version of Golden Gate Park. So that's a great place. And you have all the museums in there, the zoos in there. I mean, I'm kind of anti-zoo, but if you do want to go to a zoo, you can go there. And I'm trying to think what else is there. Oh, yeah, like the Rose Test Garden's there. The Japanese Tea Garden is there. The Hoyt Arboretum is there. I mean, Washington Park has it all. So I definitely recommend park dates. I'm all about a good park date. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting article. I don't like that it says like it's a way to pick up just girls, because I think you could honestly pick up any gender really. So check that article out if you haven't already. And then again, it will be in the description of this video in case you do want to check it out. So the next thing that's on my list of ways to meet more people is to do another pub tour. So you're probably thinking, wait, another pub tour? When did you ever do a pub tour? So September of last year, I did this haunted Portland pub crawl where I went to this pub in Old Town, and it's called Kells, and it's an Irish pub, and it also has a cigar lounge at the bottom of it. And so you do a beer testing, and I paid $40 for it. So it's kind of expensive, and I did this by myself. And I met two of my friends there who I'm actually about to be hanging out with once I am done with this stream. They're like blowing up my phone right now. I'm like, I can't answer you because I'm streaming at the moment. But anyway, so it was just a really awesome way because you do it with a group of people who also pay for it. And basically, we got to learn about some like haunted history and fun facts about Portland. I learned a little bit more about the Shanghai tunnels and some people who had died during that era, and learning more about their ghost stories and where you could potentially find their ghosts. So like one cool thing was I learned about how Old Town Pizza has a haunted it's haunted, and there's a ghost named Nina, who was a sex worker back then, and she was sadly pushed down an elevator shaft and died. And Old Town Pizza was a part of the Merchant Hotel, which is now haunted. It's closed. And so she roams the pizza joint. And they say if you like have like a whiff of like female smelling perfume, that's probably her ghost. So that's really interesting. I kind of want to go there just to see if I can see the ghost. But no, I think doing like another pub tour or like a wine tour where other groups of people are involved is a really great way to meet people, whether it's a romantic partner or just making friends. I mean, I ended up meeting my friends who are a couple, and I hang out with them pretty much all the time now. So I really like that. Anyway, so that's another thing that I want to do either this summer or in the fall. I meet people by trying new hobbies. I picked up a free cooking class. I salsa dance, Argentine tango, and improv acting. Great way to meet people. I love that. I absolutely love that. I think trying new hobbies is so important, in my opinion. I mean, like one of the recent hobbies that I got into like a year and a half ago was podcasting. So I could also potentially like join a podcasters of Portland group. That would be really dope to do. Cooking class, I think that's awesome. I should probably get into that because I'm a horrible cook, absolutely horrible cook. And cooking is not something that I enjoy, but I don't think attending a free cooking class would hurt me by any means, especially if that's free. So that's really cool that you found that. And just the salsa dancing. My one of my friends in San Francisco started doing line dancing with, and he's made friends that way. So I think this is really great. These are some really cool hobbies that you have. I think that's really I think that makes you really special, and I hope that you continue to meet more people through that. So, the next thing we're going to talk about is something that Ripped Up mentioned earlier was music festivals. So, there are summer festivals that are coming out specifically next month. So, the what's it called? The Waterfront Blues Festival is happening 4th of July weekend, and I am really excited about that. Hi, Leah. Thanks for being here. And yeah, so that is a great way to meet people. I think being surrounded by people who have a similar music interest as you is really awesome. And plus, there's going to be a ton of alcohol there. So, just alcohol just always brings people together. There's another festival coming up in at the end of July, and it's Oregon Brewers Fest, or sometimes they call it Portland Beer Fest. That's also done at the waterfront. The waterfront is basically where a lot of people will have, or not where a lot of people, where a lot of the events in Portland are located. So, and I mean, I can see why, just because there's a lot of space to have tents and vendors set up. It's really great. So, those are some great spots that I'm going to check out. Also, there's Jazz Fest in St. John's in Cathedral Park. That's something that I'm really excited to attend. I think that's also in July. So, yeah, a lot of music festivals happening around. When I was in San Francisco, the only music festival I attended was Hardly Strictly, which is a bluegrass festival. And I lived in Kentucky, so like bluegrass music was something that I was very used to. So I didn't mind that. I never got to go to Outside Lands. So that was just too expensive for me to attend. Basically, Outside Lands, oh my God, do you see Elsa right now? Sorry, but like Outside Lands is kind of like San Francisco's version of Coachella. It's way more chill than and casual than Coachella is, but um the lineup for Outside Lands this year is okay. I think Green Day is going to be there. That's probably who I would only go and see at Outside Lands this year, to be honest. I know they had Lizzo back in the fall because Outside Lands was a little bit delayed due to the pandemic. So jealous of everyone who saw Lizzo back in October. The cooking class was great because you can always throw dinner parties for friends. So much fun. New friends even wanted to cook with me. Oh my God, I love that. That's so cute because, yeah, you can throw dinner parties and then have it be like the things that you learned how to cook in the class and you can serve it. Oh my God, That's so cute. Oh my god, that makes me so excited for you. And then the last thing that I want to say that I want to challenge myself to meet people, whether it's friends or a potential romantic partner, is to attend more social events in my apartment complex. So, my apartment does a couple of social events a month, and it's really nice. So last year they had so many fun things during the summer. They had like a jazz band come and they served free pizza and wine. They had another free pizza wine night. So they have a lot of like small local artists will come and perform for the residents, which is really dope in my opinion. And now that the weather's getting warmer, I think they're going to start picking that back up again soon. And I want to go to more of those. So they took a break for a few months because I think they were still kind of COVID cautious. And now that they're picking them back up again, especially with the weather getting nicer, that is something that I'm really excited about. Because one event that I did that I really loved was this paint and sip event that they did, and you had to RSVP for it because the space was really limited. So they had free wine and free food. It was mostly like charcuterie board type foods. And then you basically were painting a picture with an artist who was teaching the class. And I made friends that way. And so my friends Brian and Jess are how I met. That's how I met them. And now that I have easy access to them, Jess actually lives on the same floor as me. And Ryan lives a few floors below me. And so that's been a really great way. And who knows, I could potentially meet like some cute guy who lives in my building, and that would be like hella fucking convenient for me because he lives in the same building as me. So if you live in like a apartment complex, maybe like one that has like amenities and stuff, if they do any kind of social event, I strongly encourage you to go to those. I know not everyone has that privilege. I definitely feel very privileged that I have that. And I feel like I've worked very hard to get to the point to where I could afford something like that here in Portland. But yeah, that's basically like what I plan on doing in terms of like meeting new people, whether it's friends or romantic partners in Portland. So we do have a little bit of time left. So I am curious to know if anyone else has any new methods on how they've met people in their city. Feel free to put it in the chat. I can give you some time to do that. I'm curious to know, is there anything else that I've missed or other ways that you've potentially met people? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I've done to meet people even when I was living in San Francisco. I'm trying to think. What else did I do? Because a lot of the things that I mentioned that I did in San Francisco, I'm definitely applying to how I did it, how I'm going to do it in Portland. But I'm trying to think what else I did. I feel like there was one other thing. Oh, another thing that I did kind of going back to religious stuff. So there was this one synagogue that I would go to about once a month in San Francisco, and they did like a young adults night. And so I would go with some of my friends, and we would mix and mingle with other Jews. And that was a solid way to meet folks as well. And then we would go out to the bars afterwards, and their oneg, which is basically like a food reception after the service, they would do tacos and beer. So that was always a good time. Leah says, I met my group of friends during my sophomore year of high school, and now I'm a junior in high school. Okay, awesome. Well, that's really great. Yeah. I mean, school is going to, like, especially when you're in high school and you haven't gone to college yet, like, I feel like most people do make a lot of their friends in school. But yeah, I mean, school is a great place to make friends. And just you wait until you go to college, if that's something you do want to do. I mean, I don't know if you do want to go to college because not everybody wants to go to college, but you make even more friends when you go to college, or even if you want to take some classes at a community college, you can still become friends with people in your classes as well. So I'm really happy that you've made a solid group of friends, and that's important to have that circle for a support system. Thank you for sharing. Alrighty, well, if nobody else has anything left to say in the chat, we can go ahead and wrap this up. But I really hope you liked this stream. Thank you for everyone who participated and popped in and decided to watch a little bit more of like my plans to engage with more people. But this has been really fun. So now I have to respond back to my friends since all my friends are being like, Alana, like I get like the little notification on my like computer through iMessage. So yeah, anyway, guys, I hope you have a great night or day wherever you are in the world. And if you're new to my channel, make sure you do subscribe. I'd love to have you join the Kitten Squad. And I'll be back on Monday with a brand new video on my channel. Bye, everyone. Why is this not ending? Okay.